5 men, 1 microphone, and by the end of it, they could not be in the same room.
When I go outside to the world outside my tears.
You know every song. You've never heard this laid end to end. The firings on paper, the dead microphone, the man in the audience stealing his own hit back, the families who went to court over who got to tell it. This is how the Temptations came apart from the inside. Number 10, the bottle nobody talks about. Before My Girl, before the suits, the spins, the four-headed microphone, one temptation put another temptation in the hospital. 1963, Detroit. The group is still hungry. 2 years on Motown, 1 charting single to their name. A lot of small rooms for small money. Elbridge Bryant, everybody called him Al, is the original 5th voice. Otis Williams' friend since they were kids, and Al has a problem. He's got a day job driving a milk route, and honestly, he likes the milk route better. Steady, predictable, pays on Friday. The singing thing is starting to feel like a con. Somebody's running on him. Then there's the drinking. One night at Chappie's Lounge, they finish their sets and the room wants more. Paul Williams, original lead, choreographer, the soul of the whole operation, says no, we're done. Al doesn't take it well. The argument moves backstage, and Al brings a beer bottle down across Paul's face. Hospital, stitches, a cut that missed his eye by inches. Now stay with me, because here's the part that tells you everything about who Paul Williams was. The other 3 want Al gone that night, immediately. And Paul, the man with the stitches in his face, talks them out of it. Argues for him, says give him 1 more chance. He did that for the man who scarred him. It bought Al about 6 months. At Motown's company Christmas party that December, Al got out of pocket 1 more time in front of the whole label, and that was it. Fired. By New Year's, a skinny kid from Mississippi in horn-rimmed glasses had jumped up on stage at a Motown party and made the whole room stop talking. David Ruffin.
Keep on walking and don't.
Within weeks, the Temptations had their first real hit, and Al Bryant was singing with pickup groups around Detroit for whoever would book him. He died in 1975. He was 36 years old. And if you've ever been the one left behind while the people you started with kept going, you already know what that particular silence sounds like.
I can tell by the way you carry yourself, but now you listen.
Number 9, the man who asked where the money went. Everybody tells you David Ruffin got fired over his ego. Nobody tells you what he asked for right before they threw him out. 1965. My Girl goes to number 1. Pop and R&B both. They're first. That voice. All that grit sitting on top of all that silk. From that moment forward, David Ruffin is the sound of the Temptations, and everybody knows it, including David. And around Motown, something is happening. The Supremes become Diana Ross and the Supremes. The Miracles become Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. The label is putting the lead singer's name on the marquee because the label knows what sells. So David says the obvious thing out loud. David Ruffin and the Temptations. You can hear the room go quiet, can't you? Now, this is where most versions of the story stop. Big head. Wanted his name in lights. But that's not the whole thing, and here's what gets me. He also asked about the money. Ruffin started pressing Berry Gordy for a real accounting of what the group was earning. Motown gave a little. The Temptations were allowed to hire an outside accounting firm, but that firm never got full access to the books. Because the books were held by the group's management company, which happened to be a subsidiary of Motown. Listen to that slowly. So he pushed. He got loud. And by 1967, he's using cocaine. And now the pushing looks like paranoia. And the missed rehearsals look like proof. And every reasonable thing he says gets filed under David being David. Here's the thing about being right in the wrong way. It doesn't count. Nobody gives you credit for the accurate part. They just remember that you were difficult. Some of y'all just thought about somebody at your job. I heard you. I've got a sweeter song than the bird. And if my girl ever came out of a car speaker on a summer night and stopped you where you stood, you were listening to a man who was already, quietly, losing the room. The other four were watching. They were counting. And somewhere, paperwork was being drawn up. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's one coffee a month and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, June 27th, 1968.
Filled with gloom, so day after day, I stayed locked.
4 men sat down with a lawyer and signed a document to remove the 5th. Not a conversation after a show, not a vote, a legal instrument. June 1968. There's a supper club date in Cleveland, and David doesn't show. He's in New Jersey, at the Latin Casino, watching his girlfriend perform. Her name was Barbara Gail Martin. Her father was Dean Martin. That's the version everybody repeats, and it's true. But understand, this was not the first missed show. It was just the last one they were willing to absorb.
That a man ain't supposed to cry. Listen,
5 days later, on June 27th, 1968, the other 4 Temptations put it in writing. David Ruffin was out of the group he made famous. And now the part you're not ready for.
away. With her went my future. My life is
The next day, they called Dennis Edwards, gospel raised, out of Alabama by way of Detroit, singing with the Contours over at Motown. Big, rough voice, nothing like David's.
up in my room. I know to you, it might sound
Otis and Eddie had their eye on him for a while, but Dennis already knew it was coming, because David had called him.
as the tears in my eyes. Oh, let it rain.
Somewhere around 4 in the morning, before Motown made the offer, before any of it was official, David Ruffin picked up a phone and told the man about to replace him what was about to happen.
Spit a leaf for rain, cause raindrops behind my teardrop.
The two of them were friends, and they stayed friends. I know, I didn't believe it either. So look at the geometry of that.
I go outside to the world outside.
4 men signing papers in one room, one man on the outside who found out first and used it to give his own replacement a heads up. There's a strange kind of grace in that. And there's something else in it too, something that doesn't get named enough. David never truly believed they'd go through with it. He thought he was the Temptations. He thought the group was a coat he happened to be wearing.
Let it rain.
By July, Dennis Edwards is standing exactly where David stood. Same mark on the stage, same songs, same suit taken in, and out in the dark, night after night, sat a man who had not accepted one single part of it. Number 7, the man in the audience. Picture buying a ticket to watch the group that fired you, so you can steal your own song back. July 7th, 1968. The Temptations are on stage. The band kicks into Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And up out of the crowd comes David Ruffin, onto the stage, takes the microphone right out of Dennis Edwards' hand, sings the lead, his lead, and disappears back into the dark before anybody can do anything about it.
If I have to beg, plead for your sympathy.
He did it again the next week, and again, all through that July run, and the crowds went up, because that's the man they came for. That's the voice on the record.
And each day it grows more and more. I'm not ashamed.
Every night the audience got a vote. Every night they voted for David. Think about what that does to 4 men standing there in matching suits while the people they're singing to lose their minds over somebody who isn't in the group anymore. They hired extra security, real, additional security, to keep a man out of a building because he might sing too well in it. But here's the turn, and this one only came out decades later. Dennis Edwards spent the rest of his life saying that's not how it went. Not exactly. He said David never snatched the microphone. He said he handed it to him. My girl was always the closer, Dennis said, and David would come down out of the audience, and they'd do it together. And the other guys would get furious at both of them.
Let your friends laugh, even this I can stand.
So the famous image, the villain storming the stage, might actually be 2 friends conspiring against their own group in front of 12,000 people for the pure joy of it.
Now I've heard a crying man is half a man.
Both stories are true, depending on who's telling it. Remember that. It's going to matter by the end of this list. And here's what I think about when I hear this one. David wasn't trying to wreck the show. He was trying to prove he still existed. If you've ever been pushed out of something you built and caught yourself hanging around the edges of it just to feel like you were still part of it, you know exactly what that is. It's not spite. It's grief wearing spite's jacket.
I don't mind weeping if you keep by my side.
Number 6, the microphone that was turned off.
For once, unafraid, I can go.
For most of 2 years, one Temptation stood center stage in front of sold-out rooms, and his microphone was dead.
For once in my life, I won't let.
Paul Williams, founding member, original lead, the man who built the choreography. Every spin, every glide, every synchronized turn you have ever seen a vocal group do since. That's Paul's blueprint. Paul had sickle cell disease. He'd had it his whole life, and by the late 60s, it was taking pieces out of him. Exhaustion, pain that wouldn't quit, and he was drinking hard because that was the only thing getting him from the hotel to the stage. The group tried, understand that. They found his bottles and poured them out. They sat him down. They kept oxygen tanks backstage so he could breathe between numbers. He would not see a doctor. Flat refused, so a decision got made. They brought in a singer named Richard Street, old Detroit hand, used to run with Otis in the distance, working over in Motown's quality control department. Richard traveled with the Temptations and stood backstage, behind the curtain, and sang Paul's parts. Paul's microphone was switched off, except for 2 songs.
And I love her.
Don't Look Back, For Once in My Life. Those stayed his. Nobody took those. Everything else, he danced. He moved. He gave the people exactly what they came for. And the sound coming out of the speakers was another man. Sit with that for 1 second.
'Cause for once in my life, I have some.
A theater full of people on their feet, and the man they're cheering can't hear himself. April 1971. They finally got him in front of a doctor.
As I know, I have love. I can.
The doctor found a spot on his liver and told him to stop. Retire. So he did, and Richard Street walked out from behind the curtain permanently. Now here's what complicates every clean version of this story.
Used to dream of long be.
They kept paying him. His full 1/5 share. Kept him on payroll as advisor and choreographer. Berry Gordy signed off on it. So was that a betrayal? Or was that the most careful thing a handful of young men could figure out how to do for a friend who was dying and wouldn't say so?
Someone warm like you.
I've gone back and forth on this one for years. I'll let you decide. But I do know what it costs a proud man to stand in his own spotlight with the sound turned off.
For once in my life.
Number 5, the vocal. He recorded in an empty room. The most beautiful vocal in the Temptations catalog was sung by a man who waited for his own band leader to go home. Eddie Kendricks. That falsetto, you know it before the first word lands. And by 1970, Eddie is done. Two things are eating at him. One is the music. Norman Whitfield has turned the Temptations into a psychedelic soul machine. Cloud 9, Ball of Confusion, fuzz guitar and social commentary, and 8-minute grooves. Eddie's a balladeer. He came up under Smokey Robinson singing love songs. He looks at these new records and does not hear himself anywhere in them. The other thing is Otis. They weren't getting on.
It was just my imagination.
Otis has said it plainly himself. Personality clashes, the kind every group has. But Otis was the leader, and Eddie was tired of being led.
To have a girl like her.
Meanwhile, his oldest friend, Paul, is falling apart in front of him, and David is on the outside, whispering the same sentence every week. Leave. Come with me. Take control of your own destiny.
It's truly a dream come true.
At the Copa in 1970, Eddie walked out after the first show. Then they cut Just My Imagination. And here's what happened in that studio, according to the guitarist who was standing in it. Otis was there. Eddie left the building. He waited. And when Otis had gone home for the night, Eddie Kendricks came back. By himself, in the small hours, and sang it, alone, in an empty room. That tenderness you hear, that ache, that's a man who couldn't stand to breathe the same air as the guy standing next to him on the album cover. April 3rd, 1971, Just My Imagination hits #1 on the pop chart. 2 weeks at the top, 3 weeks at #1 R&B. One of the biggest records they ever made.
Running away with me.
Eddie had already quit. He was gone before it got there, and Paul Williams sang the bridge on that record. Every night, on my knees, I pray. It was the last thing either of them ever recorded as a Temptation.
But it was just my imagination.
2 founding members, 1 song, both of them already out the door, while the whole country fell in love with it.
I say to myself, you're such a love.
Number 4, August 17th, 1973. This is the hardest one on the list. After Paul Williams retired, something happened that nobody expected. He got better. He stopped drinking, stopped smoking. His health came back up. And by early 1973, he's walking back into Hitsville, same building, same hallways, to start a record of his own. His childhood friend Eddie Kendricks, who'd quit just before he did, produced it and co-wrote the first single. Think about that. 2 boys from Inslee, Alabama, who met in a church choir, back in a studio together on the far side of everything, making something that belonged to them. The song was called Feel Like Giving Up. On August 17, 1973, Paul Williams was found dead in a car in a Detroit alley, having just left his girlfriend's house after an argument. He was 34 years old. The coroner ruled it a suicide. And when I give you loving, baby. Otis has said Paul had spoken to him and to Melvin about it months earlier. His family never accepted that ruling. They pointed to things in the report that didn't line up, and some of them believe to this day that he was killed. The verdict was never changed. I'm not going to pretend to know. What I know is that the man who built the way that group moved across a stage, the man who talked them out of firing Al Bryant, the man who stood in front of thousands of people with a dead microphone and did the job anyway, died alone in an alley at 34. Motown shelved the single. They couldn't put out a record called Feel Like Giving Up by a man who had just died. So it sat in a vault. His funeral was that same month. The group came, and if you've ever loved somebody who was going under, and you did everything you could think of, the phone calls, the sitting up all night, the pouring out of bottles, and it still wasn't enough, and you've spent years quietly running the tape back looking for the moment you missed, you understand this.
Listen to me while I tell you, if only I didn't.
Number 3, fired 3 times by the same man. Dennis Edwards was fired from the Temptations 3 separate times, and the second time, they brought him back to replace the man who had replaced him. Dennis takes over in 1968 and does the impossible. He doesn't imitate David, he replaces him. Cloud 9. I Can't Get Next to You. Ball of Confusion. Papa Was a Rollin Stone. Shaky Ground. 2 Grammys came off those records. 9 years of that. And in 1977, right before the group leaves Motown for Atlantic, Otis Williams lets him go. 1980, the Temptations go back to Motown, and Dennis comes back with them. 1984, he's missing shows and rehearsals, and he's out again. Replaced by a singer named Ollie Woodson, who promptly hands the group its biggest record in years with Treat Her Like a Lady. 1987, friction with Woodson. So who do they call? Dennis, back in. Third tour of duty, 1989, fired, again, and replaced, again, by Ollie Woodson. Here's what gets me. That same year, 1989, Dennis Edwards stood on a stage and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Temptations. Immortality on Tuesday, unemployment by Thursday, and he is not a footnote. Put on Papa was a Rollin Stone tonight. That voice coming in over that bass line, that's the sound of the entire 70s. He carried that group through its most ambitious decade, and they let him go 3 separate times. You know what's worse than getting fired? Getting fired by somebody who keeps needing you back, because it tells you exactly what you are to them. Useful, not family. He spent the rest of his career singing those songs for people who adored him for them. He just wasn't allowed to call himself what he was. We'll get to why. Number 2, The Reunion and What Was Left of David. In 1982, they got all the voices back into one room. 7 Temptations. It lasted about 8 months. On paper, it's the greatest idea anybody ever had. Bring David back. Bring Eddie back. Stand them next to Otis, Melvin, Dennis, Richard Street, and Glenn Leonard, and let the world hear all of it at once. They cut an album called Reunion. Rick James produced the lead single, and here's a small thing that tells you how tight that Detroit world was. Rick James was Melvin Franklin's cousin, and the Temptations had sung backup on Super Freak the year before. Standing on the Top went top 10 R&B, their biggest record in years. Then they went on the road, and it came apart exactly the way You're Afraid it did. David was on crack by then. He missed shows, and every show he missed, the group ate a fine. Thousands of dollars a night, and Eddie's falsetto, that impossible instrument, was gone. Years of cigarettes had taken it. The man could not reach the notes his entire name was built on. By the end of 1982, Otis pulled the plug and let them both go. Second firing for David. And afterward, the Temptations went back to playing rooms smaller than the ones they'd just filled. June 1st, 1991, a gray stretch limousine pulls up to the emergency entrance of a Philadelphia hospital around 3 in the morning. In the back seat is a tall, thin man, unconscious, no wallet, no identification, $53 in his pockets. He dies about an hour later, and it takes an FBI fingerprint check for anyone to establish who he was. David Ruffin, 50 years old, the voice on My Girl, he'd been carrying an estimated $40,000 that night. It was never found. His family couldn't cover the funeral. Michael Jackson paid for it. The man whose voice is probably somewhere in your house right now, on a playlist, in a commercial, at somebody's wedding this weekend, had $53 on him when he died, and a stranger had to bury him. Number 1, who owns the Temptations?
And I'll set you free, rock on, brother.
The final betrayal wasn't a firing. It wasn't a bad night in a hotel. It was the question of who owns the story. Here's what nobody explains about a legacy act.
politicians say more taxes.
The Temptations aren't five men. The Temptations are a trademark, a piece of property with a rights holder, and Otis Williams holds those rights.
Oh, yeah, that's what the world is today.
Which means every man who ever wore that suit and sang those songs is, legally speaking, a person who used to be allowed near a name he does not own. 1996. Otis Williams and the estate of Melvin Franklin sue Dennis Edwards for trademark infringement. He'd been billing himself using the name, including as the New Temptations. In 1998, a federal judge issues a permanent injunction barring him from performing under the Temptations name. He's granted exactly one formula, the Temptations Review, featuring Dennis Edwards. He toured under that phrasing for almost 20 years. And when a judge later found he'd stepped over the line anyway, he was ordered to cover legal fees running to 6 figures. 1997. Otis sues 3 more former members, Glenn Leonard, Allie Ollie Woodson, Barrington Henderson, for going out as the legendary lead singers of the Temptations. But the name was only half of it. In 1988, Otis published his memoir. In 1998, NBC turned it into a 4-hour miniseries that a whole generation now treats as the definitive history of this group. It's told from his chair. David Ruffin is the antagonist, and the families went to court. David Ruffin's children, David Ruffin's mother, Melvin Franklin's mother, Rose, Otis Williams' first wife, the woman who was the group's very first agent back in the Distance days, all of them saying the same thing. That's not what happened. That's not who we were, and nobody asked us. They lost. The ruling was upheld on appeal in 2001. So the story stands. It's the one you've seen. It's the one your grandkids will see. And that's the thing about being the last man at the table. You don't just inherit the name, you inherit the microphone.
People moving in wild because of the color of the skin.
Every version of every fight gets told in your voice from here on out. Forever. Because there's nobody left to say, that's not how I remember it.
That's what the world is today.
Otis Williams is 84 years old. He is still touring. He is still, most nights, standing on a stage in front of people, singing every word back at him. And he is the only one who was there at the start, who is still alive to hear it.